Good morning, everyone. This is KJBU 99.3 FM, broadcasting live from Oxnard, California, and streaming live all over the world on 99threefm.com. And welcome. Byron K. Ward presents Business Leadership with Action. We are thrilled to bring exemplary business leaders to share their life's journey with our audience. Most of the stories we present are from men and women of color, especially highlighting examples of business excellence from African Americans. So sit back and enjoy today's positive story of Black excellence. Today, I am honored to spend the next hour in an exclusive interview with Mr. Jon Davis. And Mr. Davis is the owner and founder of Clinical Training Institute. Jon has over 39 years of experience in the technical school industry. Good morning, Mr. Davis.
Good morning. Good morning to you and to everyone else.
Well, tell how you doing this morning? You ready to rock and roll? And
well,
tell us your story.
As much as this body can rock and roll, yeah, I'm ready to tell it all.
All right. Well, if we're going to hear the whole story, let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
So tell us a little bit about your upbringing and where you came from and how you got here to Oxnard.
Okay. I was born in, Central California. San Joaquin Valley is the area. And some know it better as the Lamar, Hanford, that part of the country, close to Fresno area. And actually grew up on a farm. My father was quite a talented individual. He had several businesses and also was part of the Cement Masons Union. And so I grew up on a farm raising animals and doing all the type stuff that you would normally do working on a farm, raising cattle, riding horses, just all the fun stuff. It was work, but it was fun at the same time.
Is that right? That's a lot of work, farming and masonry.
Yep. I didn't do any of the masonry. My dad was that. But as far as the taking care of the crops and the animals and husbandry, that type of stuff, very much involved with that. We had cotton and, as I mentioned, all types of animals. I was part of 4-H, all the normal things you do in school. And I was just remember being on the farm and just thinking about all the other things I could do in my life. As a kid, I didn't like it. I thought there was always something bigger and better. But looking back, that was I'd like to go back to the farm if possible. But I had an interesting childhood in terms of that. Come from a fairly large family. There's 6 kids, 3 boys and 3 girls. I'm one of those in the middle of the bunch. And loving family, intact mother and father family. So they had great influence on my decision and direction in life.
Well, great. Well, any significant memories from your high school days or leading up into college? Any sports?
Oh yeah. You can tell by my size. I was a good football player back in the day, and I was running back. Kept eating, became a fullback. All right?
Okay.
And, so I played for Fresno State, and did very well, but I had aspirations. I knew that I wasn't going to go into NFL, something to that nature. I just didn't have that focus. But sports was very important, track and field, boxing, all the kind of things when you're a rambunctious kid. And I had the competition with my 2 brothers, and we had a bunch of relatives. I have 11 uncles in the area, and they all had sons. And they were all bigger than me. So I had to hold my own, against that crew. But we all grew up together and enjoyed sports and, life in general, living out there in the country. Some interesting things about my father. Now, he was one of the first black men in San Joaquin Valley to actually own property. Most of the time they were renting or, just making a living. But he owned 10 acres initially, and within that, he owned 7 rental houses. Now, these houses weren't fancy houses by no means, but what him and my uncles would do, they would find a piece of property or a house that needed to be reconstructed or to be built, and so he would purchase a house. They would take their tractors and trucks and move that old house to his property, my father's property, our land, and they would work on the weekends in putting that house together, and eventually was able to rent that house. Made it nice looking nice homes for a lot of the people. And back then there were a lot of sharecroppers, people that needed a place to live. So I know this sounds like this is 1800, but this actually was back in the late 50s and early 60s that all this was taking place. And so my father I learned a lot from him about being independent and industrious. His motto was, well, heck, I can do that. That's nothing. We can do that. That stuck in my head as the years went by, watching him do those kinds of things. He was also good with, believing it or not, he could make furniture. So he would make furniture for my mom, and he was just an amazing man and quite a musician as well. Played guitar and piano. So yeah, he was probably my biggest influence growing up, knowing that if I set my mind to it, I can actually achieve something rather than just working for somebody for the rest of my life. Nothing wrong with that, but I had other aspirations based on what I saw him doing and having some success.
But you had a foundation, and sounds like you were inspired, and certainly you had a lot of life experiences just within your own family.
Yeah, that's I have to say that's a true statement. Now, it wasn't all cream and gravy or whatever, however you want to say that. There were a lot of challenges, along the way. My father at one point lost some of his property. He was later able to regain that back, but he got sick and wasn't able to maintain some of his holdings. And so that was a rough period to see him go through that, because I always saw him as a big, strapping, never say die type person. And unfortunately, when he got ill, I got another sample of how life can be. There's the ups and downs and so forth. But I learned a lot about how he was able to overcome those things, just observing, I have an older brother who actually took over for my dad and started taking care of a lot of things. I learned a lot from him as well. So, yeah, just like anyone else, you're going to have challenges in life, up and down. And so that was some of my experience. My uncles were also great influence on me to some degree, because they were, believe it or not, they're from Texas and Houston, Texas, and San Antonio, areas like that, in Dallas. And my uncles were great hunters. They'd go out and hunt, so they, rather than go to work, they'd go hunting. Okay, but they'd bring in the groceries, if you will, for their immediate family.
Bring in the game.
They bring in the game. Yeah, they were great hunters, man. They could, anything that they wanted, they could come home with a truckload of that. So I learned about their persistence. They made it their way, by doing things, being successful for their family. So I kind of picked up some things from how my uncles would handle things. My dad was more of a conservative. This is how we're doing it. My uncle, like, hey, we just go ahead and make it happen for the day. No plans for tomorrow, but let's make it work for the day. So I kind of learned from that as well.
Interesting. And, of course, those messages are great. Now, with that kind of experience in your childhood and in your family setting, is there one overriding message that you carried with you to help you attain the level that you've attained in your business ventures?
I would have to say persistence. Like I say, my dad did not let anything hold him back. He was very persistent, but he was also very humble. He had a lot of humility. So I would say the things that stayed with me then and stayed with me now is being humble. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Treat them the way you want to be treated, I should say. And just maintaining a sense of who you really are. I mean, we're nobody. I mean, in a sense, we just, You have some success in life sometimes, but that doesn't mean that you're better than the next person, you know. And so maintaining humility, always being honest, maintaining your integrity, those are the things that I learned from my dad.
Those are some great values.
Yeah, I think so.
With okay, so you graduate from college.
Yeah.
And then what's next?
Well, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. Okay, so like most young people, even though you have a degree, you're still not sure if you want to use that degree or not. And again, my dad had introduced me to a friend of his who owned a radio station. And he told me, he says, I think you have a voice for radio, believe it or not.
There's no doubt about that.
So I says, really? He says, yeah, I think I'm going to have you go down and see Mr. Crump. And so I worked at the radio station for a number of years. I worked at several stations, KSOL, KSOL, San Francisco, FM 96, I think it was, 1240 KOAD, several different stations. So I did that for a number of years, interviewed a lot of big celebrities at the time, and that was a lot of fun. But there was a yearning within me that I wanted to do more than just, you know.
Where were those stations? Were they in the area around
They were
your
in
home?
the Bay Area, yes, in the Bay Area, then northern, southern California, mostly northern California.
Okay, so you actually worked at several different locations
stations
around the state.
Yeah. I actually really wind up being in Oxnard for two reasons, because my sister was here and I wanted to come and she wanted me to come and help her with the kids. But there was a radio station in Santa Barbara. I can't think of the name of the station now. I think it's, I forget. I don't want to give the wrong call letters, but I think it was 1340 KIST, something like that. Not sure.
AM?
Yeah, it was an AM station.
Okay.
And so I got several calls from them, and I was considering going to work for them, but the drive was just not something I wanted to make, and I had an opportunity to work for the state. And I think that's when you and I met around about that same time. I started working for the state of California as what they call an EPS, Employment Program Specialist, some title that didn't pay anything, but had a nice big title to it. You know? It sounded good, you know, had a little name tag and all that stuff. So I started working for the state for several years, and from that it led me into private school industry.
Now, how long of a period of time were you in that searching and transitioning from one radio station to the other until you ended up at the state?
I'd say probably about 5 years. Yeah, 5 or 6 years I was going from one station to the other. It's a different industry, as you're probably aware. Can be very lucrative, but also very challenging at the same time. And met a lot of interesting people, but it just wasn't fulfilling enough for myself.
I understand. Well, let me take a moment here to pay the bills. And we want to remind our listeners that this program is sponsored by Clinical Training Institute, CTI. Your career starts here. Clinical Training Institute has campuses in Oxnard, Bakersfield, Santa Maria, Lancaster, Fresno, and Visalia. CTI can be reached on the web at ctivoc.com. And they're today's sponsor. And of course, the program is brought to you by Action Human Technologies, LLC. Action Human Technologies produces and underwrites Byron K. Ward Presents Business Leadership with Action. And our program is broadcast live from the studios of 99.3 FM, KJBU in Oxnard, California at 9 a.m. Pacific Time, streaming live on 99threefm.com and available on demand at 99threefm.com. And video is available on demand at byronkward.com. You can reach us at LinkedIn, Byron K. Ward, Instagram, Byron K. Ward, Twitter at Byron K. Ward, and Facebook at Byron K. Ward. So let's go back to that. You're working for the state.
Yes.
Here in the Oxnard-Ventura area.
Yeah, I worked for the state, and as I say, it was a position that required me to interact with various businesses and help them set up training programs. And with my degree in communications and so forth, they felt that I would be a good fit for that, and I did, quite well, establishing a good working relationship with various businesses. One of the first contracts I had was with a Carpenters Union. They had a council in Camarillo, I think it was, and the goal was to recruit individuals that had interest in becoming a carpenter and joining the Carpenters Union, and facilitating a training program. Actually, they already had the program, but my job was to recruit them and to ensure that the individuals was a good fit for the program, and then maintain a retention of those individuals from start to finish. Basically, if you started with 100, they wanted to finish with 99 if possible, and I was able to quite successfully do that. Once that contract was over, I received another contract with another organization, and I think the company was called Golden State School, and I think it's where you and I had a chance to actually meet. And this was actually an actual technical school. This was an accredited technical school, whereas the Carpenters Union was an actual contract through the state of California.
Or a training program,
Yeah, training
per
program.
se?
Yeah, that's what that was. It was an actual school. But this was a school. And they had some of the same needs. They were trying to establish various programs. They were also receiving various funding from the county, WIA, I think it was at the time. And so I was brought aboard to basically do the same, recruit and train and administer a program so that it would be successful and profitable for the ownership. And I did that well, I can say, so well that the owner of the company made me an offer to leave the state. And it was not an easy decision for me because I had a maid, so to speak, at the state, Even though I was making much money, it was a nice job. I enjoyed the environment, enjoyed the people, and so forth. And I saw there could be a lot of potential working with the state. But the individual that introduced me to the owner of the company, let's just say he made me an offer. At the time, I said, well, this is a good offer. I'm going to have to go ahead and take this. The gentleman's name was Larry Owens. We turned out to be good friends over the years. But he introduced me to the owner of the company, and that's how I got started. And I think that was in 1983. I'm pretty sure it was.
Okay.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Golden State had a good run, you and Brother Larry.
It sure did. Yeah, I was with them until 1998. Okay, and that was a long time. I was able to move up the ladder, so to speak. I think they opened up, they had about 6 schools, 6 locations, San Bernardino area, Bakersfield. And I became one of the department directors. I managed a certain part of the company at that time. And we did quite well up until the point where I decided to go out on my own.
And then?
Okay, so in 1998, I was approached by an individual that was trying to start a school. And I had 15 years or so of school business at that point. So I learned quite a bit, the ups and downs and do's and don'ts and those important things. And decided to go into partnership with this person. That was the initial goal. But for some reason, that partnership situation didn't work out. He no longer wanted to be a part of it. And so I decided to do it by myself, which is what I did. So I started the business. At that time, it was called Academy Education Services, Inc.
Yeah, and what year was that?
That was in 1998.
Okay, 98.
Yeah. I left Golden State. In fact, that was the reason why I left Golden State, to go right into my own business. And so when I started the business back in 98, well, that was something else, because I had a lot of experience from one end of the business, but I didn't have any experience on the other end.
Now, before you tell us that story, This show is intended as a learning experience and for information for our listeners. Now, you indicated that you initially were in a partnership. And so just briefly, what are some of the challenges of partnerships?
Good question. Good partner. Well, partnership is like a marriage. Okay? When you get ready to sign the dotted line, whether it's matrimonially or with a partner, you need to know them very well, because it's typically going to be for the long haul. Or unless you set aside a specific time period, you're going to have the business, you're going to grow the business, you're going to sell it and divide the profits and so forth. But typically when people go into business, they go into business with the intent of lifetime, because this is going to be financial income for themselves, for their family, and on into the future, so to speak. So you need to know the individual very well. Take the time to interact with them, their family members, get to know their likes and dislikes. More than just a handshake, more than just a smile is required. You have to have a real understanding who that person is and what his goals, his objections, his attitude, how does he deal with adversity. There's a whole lot of different things that you're going to need to know. So that doesn't mean you'll have all that information in one meeting. It means that you have to spend some time with that person before you sign any type of contractual agreement to obligate yourself in a situation that can become real difficult in the long run if you don't.
And that's particularly true of a two-person partnership.
Yes.
Anyway, I just wanted to share that. Will you please go on with Academy?
I can also say that, and just like a marriage, a partnership, business partnership, there's going to be give and take. You're going to have to make sacrifices, as they will, to come to an agreement and have the same vision in mind. You have to have a mission, a goal, and you have to have a meeting of the minds in order to achieve that. And so those are important things. Well, unfortunately, as I mentioned, that was not the case in my first partnership venture. Fortunately, that did not set me back. That arrangement was only for a few months, and after that I was able to go out on my own. But what was really interesting about it was that at the time, trying to supply the school, okay, I remember buying and purchasing a lot of computers, believe it or not, from thrift stores. All right, I was had a nice little four-banging little truck. And you can see me riding around. I was so happy. I was smiling and waving at people. I got a school, right? All right, but it was a little truck, and I'd have it loaded all types of computers. The monitors weren't all the same size. They'd be these big old green monitors or whatever I could get. I was putting them in my little school. The desk, I think they were high school desk, elementary desk, whatever I could get in that place. That's what I was doing. Now, I know that the place did not look like anything that was successful, but I had already developed a market for the clientele. I had people waiting to enroll into the programs that we offered at the time. And so that part started working out very well. The challenge was bringing aboard employees that had the same vision. You have to have individuals that basically want to have a vested interest. In other words, like when they hit that door, you want a person that has an attitude that this is Joe's place. Basically, their name, their shingles hanging out front. They have a vested interest in the business to be successful. And sometimes employers, when they'll bring somebody aboard, they'll hire somebody that's basically wanting just to check. And that doesn't always work out. Things kind of can go awry. So that was some other things I had to learn over a period of time is learning how to interview, looking for certain qualities in individuals to make sure that they were a good fit for our goal, our vision. And I can truthfully say that we've got probably half of the company. We have 33 employees, and most of them that have been at least 15 years and some over 30, 35. A couple have been there with me for 39 years from day one.
From the beginning.
From the beginning, yeah. So I'm pretty proud of that fact.
So that would be from being with you at the various companies.
Yes, exactly. I was able to bring over 2 people from the original company with Golden State, and they saw the same vision and dream that I had, and I knew with their help and support I could achieve those things much quicker. And like I say, to this day, they're still with me. Saw them yesterday.
All right. Well, tell us. Okay, so you went from academy to
Yes.
the CTI incorporated 6 locations across the state.
Okay. Yeah. Well, what happened was under Academy Education Services, we grew to fairly large size operation. We had 75 employees. I think we're generating over 15, 18 million a year, somewhere around there. Maybe 20 million. I forget exactly, but then, like all good things started going south. We had some issues with some of the governmental requirements, we'll say, and so we were forced to downsize. Okay, so fortunately for my board of directors and myself, we saw on the horizon a number of things that were taking place that were a shift in the industry. Transitioning, and this happened in 2003, which led us to where we are today. So what we did, we incorporated a subsidiary. We still had Academy Education Services, but we had a subsidiary that was called Clinical Training Institute. Now, under this organization, it offered licensed training for licensed phlebotomists. And the state of California mandated in 2003 that you must be a licensed individual to work in blood labs. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means that if you are going to be collecting bloods, any form of activity in that, in that lab is going to require a state license, and that state license requires a rigorous training program. It's like a boot camp that you have to go through and qualify for it. This also meant that if you are already as a phlebotomist, you had to get licensed. So a lot of those individuals had to go back and get retrained. So we were the first organization on the west end of Ventura County to offer a license program.
Outstanding.
Yeah, the challenge with that is that you have to jump through the hoops. There's several agencies that oversee the program. You have the Department of Education, the Bureau of Private Post-Secondary Laboratory Field Services, and then your National Testing Registry as well, which is like an accreditation. All 3 of those entities have to approve your program. So you have to meet certain criteria. You have to have this financial wherewithal to show that you are solvent and capable of running a program of that size. And so we met all of that criteria. And as we were transitioning from the larger accredited school, we moved into the registry program right at the right time because it just took off, if you will. And as you know now, over the years, with all the various, with COVID in particular, you can imagine the number of people that are requiring blood work in some form or another. So the need for licensed phlebotomists is just through the roof. We train about 1,200 people a year, probably at a minimum. And it's a thriving business because it's a real need. You know, it's something that the community needs to have, and so we're pretty proud to be able to fill that need.
Well, that's certainly outstanding, and we want to remind you that this program is sponsored by Clinical Training Institute. Your new career starts here. Clinical Training Institute has campuses in Oxnard, Bakersfield, Santa Maria, Lancaster, Fresno, and Visalia. CTI can be reached on the web at ctivoc.com. Jon, your locations are across the central and upper portion of LA County.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you're one of the premier training organizations, particularly in your area of phlebotomy. And what are some of the other areas and some of the other businesses that are part of your organization?
That's our, let's say, our bread and butter. That's the main focus. That's what got us established as a viable option for many of the labs and hospitals. We have contracts with probably every major hospital, lab, and clinic around. You can think of in this area: CMH, Magnolia Medical Clinic, just Ventura Medical Center. We have contracts with all of those.
Contracts to place
Yes,
individuals?
right.
Okay.
To provide clinical externships. Now, granted, because of COVID-19, there has been a delay because of, the 6-foot distancing and so forth. But that's starting to pick back up. Fortunately, we had enough insight to develop our own lab about 3 years ago. So we also have clinical training laboratories. So we're able to handle that. So we have a steady flow of students. Once they've completed all of their didactic, all of their hands-on lab, then they're actually able to have a clinical externship through our own lab. And that's available in all 6 locations as well. But in addition to that, we also have online programs. We have a medical billing and coding program, which is a very good program. We've had that for about 10 years. And the pharmaceutical tech program is coming back online. We had it online a couple of years ago, but we decided to kind of hold back on that. But we're getting so many calls and demands from CVS and other Walgreens places looking for pharmacy tech individuals. So
it's great to get your customers banging on the doors.
It's
well, along those same lines, what's your secret sauce with CTI? What has made this happen in such a fantastic way?
Well, I think the one thing that we, as a business owner, you never think as though you've made it to the top of the mountain. You always got motivation. You always got competition. You've got staff development. A lot of things that becomes inherently part of having some success. So I would say the ability, just like my dad, sticking to it, believing in and what you're trying to achieve, and I think just maintaining the desire to be successful in something, and never have a doubt that I'm not going to be successful. But even if you do have challenges, there's ways around that. You just keep working at it, and you surround yourself also with people who have like thinking. You have individuals that want to achieve something in life. So I think just having the right attitude. There's a saying, and of course I'm going to get the saying wrong, but basically it says that the more wisdom you have, the less you talk. Okay? You learn from individuals. Just kind of watch and learn.
That speaks for itself.
Okay, right. The more wisdom you have, the less words need to be said. And so I learn a lot by watching others who had some success.
Yeah, sometimes that same message is characterized by you have 2 ears and 1 mouth.
I use that often too. With my grandkids, I tell them that.
Yes.
That's so true. But I think those would be some of the things that I would attribute to whatever measure of seemingly success that I have. Is just staying humble, treating others where you want to be treated, and have a goal, and just stay focused.
Now that's a good segue, because obviously you're very successful and you have long-term employees. Other than the values that you've shared with us, what can you tell us about your leadership qualities that have allowed you to keep a team together that long and to transition into your various iterations of your business?
Very good question. I think one of the first things that I learned was that you have to be a good leader. You have to set a good example, number one, and you have to be willing to put the time in to help others as well. You can't be envious of someone else's natural qualities or ability. You have to help promote them also. And so we do a lot of staff training, staff development. And one of the first things that we did with all of our managers is handed each of them the 1-minute manager. You've probably seen that. Remember that old book years ago?
Sure.
Okay, so everybody's got their copy. It's like their Bible, the 1-minute manager, and help them interact with their staff and themselves with the technology and so forth, learning how to, believe it or not, write and respond to emails. It all goes back to showing courtesy to others, being respectful, and teaching them to treat the persons that they're interacting with, whether they're employees or co-workers, with respect. So I think that staff development, teaching them how to show genuine affection or concern for the fellow man has helped a long ways. And this is what I always do. I take an active part of the training process. Now, because of COVID-19, I don't travel nearly as much as I used to, but we use some of the apps such as Zoom, Google Apps, and we do a lot of virtual training, which seems to be just as effective. And give them an opportunity also to lead the meeting and to perform training. Go out and do the research, come back, show us what you've got, introduce new technology, new techniques, so that we can all benefit by. I don't have all the answers, but I like to set up the venue or the environment where someone else will feel like coming forth and sharing what they have to offer as well. And so that's some of the things that.
Well, I think that's excellent, and really that's an example as a training organization, as a training entity. You're literally practicing what you preach by the staff development that's part of your leadership philosophy.
Yeah, I agree.
Along those same lines, you as a veteran business person, highly successful, what would you say to a new person starting a business when maybe they're working by themselves or with just a couple of folks? What wisdom could you share with this new business owner?
Well, the first thing I would tell that person is do his research. Do as much research as he can on the direction that he thinks he wants to go into. And what's his motivation? Is it vocational, avocational? Is it financial? What is that person's motivation? And then do the research in whatever that area might be. Now, what's that going to do for the person? That's going to help them develop a real game plan, or a business plan, if you will, and to see whether or not this can something that you can bring to fruition, or maybe I'll have to make some adjustments or change in my goal sets. Now, I too have done that over the years. There's different things that I wanted to do, I thought I wanted to do, but after doing proper research, found out that was probably not going to fit in with what I was already having some success with. So I had to change direction. So I would tell the person to make sure you do your research. Also, align yourself with those who are willing to share what knowledge they have by talking to other individuals, especially retired individuals. They're the ones that got all they don't have a dog in the race, so to speak. So they want you to be successful. They'll tell you all kinds of wonderful things. Find out where you can get additional resources, funding resources and assistance. There's various forms of funding available out there. If you do your research, you put together a nice package, you can present it to capital ventures, banks. A lot of different organizations would be more than happy to support a good cause, something to that effect. So I would tell the person to spend the time doing the research, talking to individuals that can help them reach their goal.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that with us. Now, I noticed on your biography as well that you have a long list of organizations that you have been involved with throughout your career. Has that been significant to you in developing your business?
Yeah, aligning yourself with certain organizations that have the same vision as yourself. I've been a part of a number of organizations. I worked closely for some time with American Express, had a diversity program that was quite successful. Our organization received a number of awards from them because of the things that we were able to do. And when you visit our campus, any of the locations, they do reflect the community at large. You see some of everybody, ethnicity, what I'm trying to say. I always have a tough time with that word. But you see a reflection of your community at large within all of our facilities. Diversity,
equity, and inclusion in action.
Go. Those are the words that I was looking for.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, most certainly. So, so some of the organizations have really helped develop that thought process and foster that success within CTI as well.
Being a veteran here on the Oxnard Plain myself, I noticed one that I've never heard of. Ventura County Cultural Diversity Board.
That was a organization that was short-lived, but they had some really good vision and goals. And that was actually started by a Hispanic organization. It was formerly called CAFE, C-A-F-E, and I forget what the actual acronym stands for. But that was an organization that had goals of being inclusive of all people as well. And they asked me to be on the board, and I was on the board for about 6 to 8 months. But unfortunately, we weren't able to get a whole lot of traction. I don't think they had the individuals who knew how to go out, someone like yourself, and to bring in the types of organization that could support in terms of funding. They had a good goal, they had a good mission, but they just didn't have the staffing to develop. And so unfortunately, that did not last that long.
Yeah, what do you think now? You come with these strong values from the family and from the early part of your business. What can you share with us to elaborate in terms of where you are now, and not necessarily what you see as the future, because we want to talk about that a little bit in the last segment, but anything that's really current that comes to mind that you want to share with our audience?
Well, how do I answer that? I see a lot of things that I'd like to see improved in our community, but realistically, I know I have my role, or what I can actually contribute in that endeavor. What I'd like to see is more people of color owning businesses. I'd like to see them reflected more, so that it wouldn't be, we often hear that expression, the first. That bothers me.
Yes.
Okay? That really bothers me. It shouldn't be, because we have the capabilities like anybody else, the same brain, all we lack is opportunity. So what I'd like to see is more people of color being able to be in a position to set up businesses, to help people bring their vision to reality. Those are some things that I'd like to see take place in my lifetime, if possible.
That's a great vision, and thank you for sharing that. We know here in Ventura County and on the Oxnard Plain that the demographics are such that a lot of our African American community members are educated and employed, and so, like yourself, I share a vision that it is important to put business on the radar, business ownership on the radar for people of color, and particularly African Americans.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's so much talent out there, and they just need, first of all, they need to truly believe in themselves and not give up. As you say, I forget the percentage, but I think we're African American, like 1%, somewhere around in Ventura County.
I think the last numbers I saw was 1.8.
Yeah, 1.8%.
Probably about 15,000
yeah.
black folks in the county.
And within that, I personally know, as you do too, a lot of professional African Americans within that 15,000. And some of those perhaps may have aspirations to start their own business. And I think that would be, it shouldn't be a matter of, if they can, it's a matter of mindset. Well, you can, if you desire to move forward in that capacity. I'd like to see more of that take place.
Well, we're going to play a role in connecting you with some folks that want to do that, because in some of my other work, there is a wave that may have been brought on as a result of the pandemic, people being displaced from their job or not wanting to go back into a setting where there are many people in one place at a time. So we'll visit that offline.
Sure.
Want to remind you that this program is sponsored by Clinical Training Institute, CTI. Your career starts here. Clinical Training Institute has campuses in Bakersfield, in Oxnard, Bakersfield, Santa Maria, Lancaster, Fresno, and Visalia. CTI can be reached on the web at ctivoc.com. And Byron K. Ward presents Leadership with Action is produced and underwritten by Action Human Technologies, LLC. Our program is broadcast live from the studios of 99.3 FM KJBU in Oxnard, California at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and streaming live on 99threefm.com and available on demand for audio at 99threefm.com, and video is on demand at byronkward.com. We're available on all the social media at Byron K. Ward. So we're here with a institution in the Ventura County business community, Mr. Jon Davis. And Jon, here as we go down the final leg of our journey down your life and your business life, what's next on the horizon for Jon Davis and CTI?
Ooh, I wish I knew. Well, I guess I could say that I hope to maybe make some major changes this year. Well, I won't get into the specific details in terms of the business, but there are some things that we are seriously looking to do, which would be real good, for me personally. Okay, but the business will continue on, and so basically we're looking at doing some transition. Some individuals we've been training to take over, so I may be flying off the wild blue yonder, as they say.
Putting your sign up to say "Gone fishing."
Sign on. yeah. It's about that time. The business, it's pretty well self-ran to some degree, because of when you have you're in an industry when there's a supply and demand. As long as you can supply, that demand is already created there, and so that part is working very well. So you look at other ways of achieving other success in other ventures as well. We recently purchased our first Airbnb, and so that's working out very well. So I have possible aspirations of maybe establishing a new line of Airbnb businesses throughout the United States.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah, it's been pretty exciting. We have our first one is in Orlando, Florida, actually Davenport, which is, you fly into Orlando, it's about 20 minutes from that.
Mm-hmm.
And it has all the major attractions. It's actually a nice resort area, so I'll give it that tip afterwards, in case you want to take the family out there. It's going to give you a nice deal. It's very nice over there. So that's one of the things that I've been looking at expanding once we see that it's working pretty well. So this might be another venture down the line.
Now, you're not thinking of leaving California, are you? You're a native.
No, not leaving. And I have traveled around the world. I've been to many different places, different countries, and there are some beautiful places, but there's nothing like Oxnard. I'll tell you the truth. The weather's beautiful here. I have a lot of wonderful friends and family here, so now I won't be leaving no time soon, not on a permanent basis.
Boy, I bet you the city of Oxnard and the Chamber of Commerce are blushing over that statement.
Well, they could. Let me tell you where they can send that check.
You know how to make the money,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a possibility.
Tell them I'll come pick it up. Whatever's easy for them.
Jon, what's your favorite memory of your business journey?
I have several, actually. I think some of the things that I really appreciate is seeing the smiling faces of successful individuals who've gone through the program, gotten themselves licensed, and now working within the industry. That is, to me, a personal satisfaction to be able to deliver the promise. When you take someone's finances, you take that personal. At least I always have. And I want to make sure that everybody gets exactly what they came there for. So when I see the smiling faces, when I hear the comments, when somebody walks through the door, they were referred by this person, etc. and so forth, that makes me personally satisfied.
What I'm hearing you saying is that even though you're not the teacher in the classroom, you're experiencing that feeling that a teacher gets vicariously from having set up the school itself.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I don't interact with the students, if you will. I'm in the background. I see everything, and through our corporate meetings and so forth, you see the numbers, you look at the stats and so forth. But I hear various things from some of the employees, and then also occasionally I'll run into a person who completed the program years ago. In fact, I had my own blood work done at I think CMH or Magnolia. On 2 or 3 occasions, they were graduates from the program.
Wow.
So that's always satisfying. And I never tell them who I am or what's my relationship. I just ask them, "Oh, you do that quite well. Where did you go to school?" "Oh, yes, I did." "Where did you graduate from?" "Oh, CTI." "Oh, is that a good school?" "Oh, yes, yes."
Outstanding, outstanding.
So that always works for me.
Jon, as we wrap up here, let's have a little fun here.
Let's have it.
If you could choose your superpower, what would it be?
Oh, man, let's see. I need a lot of stuff, so let me think, which one would that be? Probably enhance my ability to have... Wow, you put me on the spot, Byron. Let me think. Vision. To see down the road.
X-ray vision.
That's right. I can see what's coming around the corner.
Now who's that? X-ray vision, is that Superman?
He could do that too.
I think that was his superpower.
Yeah, that's right. He can see through walls.
Yeah.
And, all those other kind of things. But I think having insight and having vision to see down the road would be helpful to some degree. I mean, just off the top of my head, I just think about.
Well, that's outstanding, man. This has been such an enjoyable interview.
Well, I enjoyed it. Thank you.
You've shared such wisdom and experience and vision with us. It's been a real pleasure.
Well, thank you. I can say it was, as you and I both know, this wasn't planned. We're just talking, right? So I just have to kind of tell it like it is. So I've enjoyed it as well. So.
Yeah, it's two guys just chatting. We just don't have the coffee.
I'm telling you.
Next time we have to have it with a cup of coffee, or in my case, tea.
Tea works for me too.
Okay,
so that'll work for me.
Okay,
so.
A kindred spirit.
There you go.
Well, Jon, thanks so much. Again, reminding our audience, this is Byron K. Ward presents Business Leadership with Action. And our guest today has been Mr. Jon Davis, originally of the Hanford area in Northern California, but a dedicated Oxnardian now, no doubt. Yeah. And certainly one of the most successful and long-tenured African-American business persons in the area. 6 locations of your school.
Never thought about it, but yeah, I guess that's the truth. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you had the ambition, if you would have gone into other cities further north and further south, I'm sure. Yeah.
It can be done.
It's just awesome what you've done.
Yeah, and like I say, I think anybody can do what I've done, which I personally don't think I've done that much. When you still have the energy burning and so forth, and I really haven't looked back. I'm just do what I do, but I do appreciate that, and I think that anybody could be successful if they put their mind to it.
Approximately how many students have completed your courses?
Oh, man. Since the inception, probably over 20,000.
That's your legacy.
Yeah.
That's your legacy.
Yeah, that's a good point, yeah.
20,000 careers
that
20, have been enhanced.
Yep. And that's the truth. Yeah.
What a contribution. Thank you so much,
Thank
Jon
you.
Davis,
Thank you
ladies
very
and
much.
gentlemen. And we just want to remind you that this show is Byron K. Ward presents Leadership with Action. And we are thrilled that you join us every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. So we want you to sit back and stand by for our next personalities coming on, and that will be none other than Luminary Sound.